Hello and welcome. I am, of course, the Restless Kaiser.
Who's next? Because I'm not in line.
I'm Woolly Mike.
I'm Johnny B.
And I'm Dwayne Carn here.
But together we are
Modern
Village.
We get less professional as the years go on. We get less good at this. All right, let's just see.
We have musical chairs.
Who we got in the early adopters? We have got Paul Parker. Good evening. We got Ashley from Gamers with Coffee. I got an email from Greg earlier in the week. Ashley, I haven't replied yet, but yes, definitely. We need to catch up and get you guys on again. It's always fun, especially when you hit him. That's when I like it best. Rich John, working. He'll catch us later. Team Clueless Games. Rosie is here. Subs is going to be sloshed by the end of the night because he's going to drink every time someone says mech. He also says that you are to blame for his growing collection of plastic robots. He's going to get revenge by only playing Alpha Strike because he knows how you feel about it. We want to talk about Alpha Strike tonight. We're going to talk about the new Kickstarter, talk about Alpha Strike, and maybe even talk at the end of the show about 10th edition if anybody really wants to. Rodento is here. Ham and Jam. Tony, did someone say big stompy mechs? It's just using a mech robot emoji there. Like it. Big stompy mechs are the best type, aren't they? Death from Above is still a thing, right?
Oh yeah, totally. Death from Above is totally still a thing.
Okay, first time caller, long time listener. Hello, James. And he's from Australia. Lord knows what time. I know it's depending on where you are, but I know this is like 4 a.m. for Harry when he comes on the show. He's still like half asleep before in the pre-show.
Because
love Battletech really like them to put out some infantry and APCs, maybe artillery and aircraft. I think there already are infantry and APCs.
you can get them off for Alparta and Metal, but the Kickstarter that's coming out, it's all about vehicles, baby. There's vehicles, armor, APC, all that coming out.
And we're gonna have a look at that. But infantry, aircraft, and APCs not go stompy. Yeah, that's quite right. Rich M is here. We've got Howard Everton with his awesome icon. I love it.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I go 9. Hi guys. All right. That's that. Hobby wise tonight, I got a million small things to do because I never get very far when I'm chatting. I'm going to get some middles. I've sprayed these, but I'm going to get some middles. Look, I didn't paint the underneath, John. You love that, didn't you? Got some middle stone on these 250s from Warlord, which John built for me, actually. I have got bags of Javis Scenics trees, which need basing, then spraying and reflocking.
Beautiful.
I might do the basing tonight. And if I get far enough, I'm going to paint the tracks on this. Boom. Mike.
DAC infantry.
DAC for the win.
Deutsche Africa.
I have made one with the left arm from the Italian sprue, left arm with Italian gesture. Where are we? There we go.
That's what they call this, and the Warlord sprue.
In the sprue, it says left arm doing Italian gesture.
That's epic.
So I have to put on an NCO German.
Yeah, should do. It'd be bad. I'm also doing bolt action, but I really wish I had some mechs to paint. I was actually looking at some the other day on Iron Wind. Is it Iron Wind Metals?
Iron Wind Metals, yeah, they do some metals.
They've got some crazy ass mechs, my man. They're just
they got some old school ones that are a bit dated, but like
sausages with laser beams on them and stuff.
Sausages with laser beams? I'm in.
Yeah, mate. So today I'm going to try and finish the Bren team for the Canads, the first Canad section, which may or may not be the right colour. Highly unlikely. And I might glue up, I don't know if I will though, this Rubicon M5A1 Stuart. So I have a platoon of them. That's it. Scania, sir.
Scania has Urban Mechs, 2 Urban Mechs that are being
proper Urban Mechs.
silhouetted because the light is in a terrible position. But I've Urban that need
like the reverse. You see the
space.
scary silhouette of an
Are
urban
you
mech.
are you part of the Irby fan club then? Are you?
Oh yeah. There's the Northern lads coming up next week. I'm buying 3 of them. Yeah, there's no stopping me, lads. I'm telling you.
I do like an urban mech.
I mean, some hilarious ones, like some hilarious variants with like improved heavy armor and stuff like that. So they count as having double the armor points they have. So they're like these really slow, really annoying trash cans with loads of armor. They're cool. Yeah, exactly. They're literally like walking pillboxes, but it's hilarious.
I love that. Before you talk to us about all the mechs with the Mechy Mechness, can you tell the guys at home who you are and if they can find you on Tinterwebs anymore, or if you've just given up? Who knows?
No, I'm still there. So my name is Dwayne. If you know me from Battletech, or if you know me from when I used to dabble with the old 40k orcs, you probably know me as Scarnier. I run the Plastic Craic Gaming channel, which has been a bit quiet at the moment, but I've been busy on the Battletech scene in Ireland. So I've helped pretty much get a club going for the Dublin area, which is the capital, and I go down to events in other counties, namely down in Limerick, and we're actually running tournaments. So we have a Battletech national tournament that's going to be run up in Dublin in September. I'm pretty much helping to run that at this stage, and we have various province tournaments coming up as well. There'll be one in July for Leinster, which is the province I'm from. I'll be running that as well. So I'm sort of I'm going gung ho on the old Battletech. That's what I'm doing. I've sort of I dived into the deep end without any armbands on, and I'm just seeing how it goes.
Well, no, good. I mean, the last time you were on, you mentioned that you were going to be. Oh, Jesus! It's William Mike.
Oh, wrong. I pressed the wrong button. Sorry.
Jesus.
Terrifying.
Terrifying. You mentioned that you were getting more in the scene. So if we want to see you, we're best off just getting our asses over to Ireland and joining in these wonderful tournaments that you're going to help run.
Yeah. I mean, I won't stop you. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'm not gonna, but if anyone else,
ideally, yeah.
We were actually talking about it just a little bit before the show, looking at the prices. Ireland is one of the most expensive places in Europe, though, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Visiting's bad. I live in here.
Yeah. And you're in Dublin, which is the most expensive bit of Ireland.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. And what you didn't mention, because you're not a merciless shill in the way that I am, is that actually, if you live on the island of Ireland, you do sell all the Battletech stuff, don't you?
I do. I have a online store for the Battletech products. Pretty much, it just stocks Battletech. That's what I do. Is that the whole thing came about really last April. Myself and a few friends, we actually go around to different college conventions, and we run participation games for people to join in and play Battletech. And I was like, well, if we're teaching people how to play Battletech and nobody's actually selling it to them, we might as well get it in and have the box set there, because it's like if you're teaching someone how to play a game, and they want to get into it, you need to have the box set there and then. So that's pretty much how it started. You know what I mean? And now I'm up to me eyeballs in Battletech products, which I don't mind. Like, I quite enjoy it. There's lots of them. There's lots of mix, and there's
how much of your stock goes into your cases?
Well, I limit myself. So if something new comes out, I get myself one box set, and then I hopefully try to paint it up. But I don't go too crazy, because the temptation is a bit much, especially when it comes to the Savage boxes, because they're like blind boxes. So you can get a bit carried away. Now they're blind boxes, but they're mechs that you can buy in box sets, so you're not restricted in that regard. You can't only buy things blind box only, if you know what I mean. There's nothing restricted. So if you wanted to, it's like, I really want this mech, I'll just buy this box set and then trade the other 3 dudes or sell the other 3 dudes, if that's what you want. But it's just a bit of fun. I think it's really bad around the Christmas time, because I tend to do a Savage Box Advent calendar event I've done that the last 2 years. I mean, it's fun, and I actually do them on the day, which is crazy. But you can get surprisingly.
I never understood why you do that. Pre-record, for goodness sake, man.
I feel like that's cheating. You sort of have to be in, festive spirit and genuine interaction. Then at least it's the real deal when I'm commenting on yesterday's comments in today's video. So
Oh yeah, I guess there is that. Yeah.
There's no shenanigans, but yeah, it's madness. Like, I never thought I'd be able to do like 25 videos in a month, but it's doable apparently. It's very heavy-handed now that I think about it. It's like 25 videos or 26 in December, and then very sparse in between. The odd battle report now and then, or the odd stream. So yeah, I need to work on my spacing throughout the year. I think is my downfall at the moment.
And the other thing that you do is you stream on a Sunday night, right?
Yes, I do stream every second Sunday.
It's fortnightly, yeah.
Fortnightly, I do streams, hobby streams.
Yeah, and on those, for anyone that goes along to watch, you mostly are painting Battletech these days, I think. But there's occasionally a bit of orc chat creeps in there, isn't there?
Well, yeah. So mostly, like, the whole point of the hobby hangouts is really to get me to do hobby because I'm terrible at making time to paint miniatures. So it's like the hobby hangout started off as a means for me to get my miniatures painted and then talk hobby. So it could be anything. And if I have a guest on, we could be talking about any gaming system. Really, it's not restricted to just talking about BattleTech or just talking about 40K. I mean, if people come on and they, their thing is bolt action or they're into Star Wars Legion or, the myriad of war games that are out there, historicals, like, I'll happily talk hobby with anyone with whatever aspect of the hobby they have because I'm generally an inquisitive guy. Like, I'll try a war game at least once or twice just to see what it's like. You know what I mean? Just to see if I can get some information about it because, I find when it comes to wargaming that it's good to sort of have a look at different gaming systems and different gaming mechanics and see what you like and what you don't like because you might be surprised, and it helps your comprehension in general, like your gaming comprehension.
Truth.
Absolutely. All right, so should we start if I bring it up? So at the moment, because the people have mentioned it in the comments, so it is relevant. I'll see if I can get up the Kickstarter. So Battletech Mercenaries. There we go. Can you guys see this?
Boom.
Come on.
Yep.
Yeah, because when I'm looking at that, I can't see this. Is the thing. All right, so. Because people mentioned it, Battletech Mercenaries, when you were saying like infantry vehicles, is that what this is all about then?
So the Mercenaries Kickstarter, yes, primary. There's a box set coming out, a Mercenaries box set, and then the whole big thing for this Kickstarter is that they are bringing a lot of the vehicles out in plastic now for the first time, really. And so this is kind of like what has made Battletech so resurgent in the past few years, especially with their previous Kickstarter, is that they are re-sculpting and retooling the whole line pretty much. Well, they're going through it at a fairly decent rate, but they're redoing everything in plastics now, as opposed to sort of a lot of their line was very old school, very outdated metals that they were in 1980s to early 90s vintage, and they weren't exactly in scale with each other, but their smexy new sculpts have like super turbocharged, injected the Battletech scene with loads of cool new miniatures and loads of players. You know what I mean? Player base is exponentially growing. It's crazy.
Really and I remember in the sort of big Warhammer questionnaire that they put out once a year, seemingly to quite random people, one of the questions they asked the year before last about are you leaving for other games is that other game Battletech, which I found quite interesting because I wouldn't have seen a connection myself between the two because they're very different games to play. But obviously it was enough for Warhammer to notice and think to themselves, Are we losing players to this game?
Yeah, well, I think there is a bit of it. I think it's a bit of a meme as well because like players were, so disenfranchised with Games Workshop because of their practices, and then Battletech. This is my perception of it, and Battletech was all of a sudden on a resurgence or on the uptake. Quite a few players came over from 40k. I mean, that's what I did back in like 2018, 2017. I was like, right, I'm not enjoying playing 40k.
Yeah.
I realized I've just been trying to chase nostalgia that I had for previous editions, and I enjoyed the Battletech rule set, but I always thought the miniatures were a bit naff and you couldn't get your hands on them. And then they came out with a miniature line, and I was like, I'm sold. That's it. That's all I needed. Is I've got cool miniatures and I can actually buy them. That's me on board, I mean, quite a lot of people have been doing that. I feel they've been like the look at the miniatures, and the rule set is pretty comprehensive. And then there's more than one way to play BattleTech. So what I seem to understand, and from what I'm seeing, is a lot of folk who come over who want a 40k like game or 40k-esque, they tend to play Alpha Strike, which is what a lot of folk are talking about. So like you have your core rulebook, and then you've got like your Alpha Strike box set, which doesn't have the full rules.
Let me put you on the big screen so people can see.
Oh yeah, you have an Alpha Strike box set, and then it comes with like your miniatures and some cardboard buildings and stuff like that. Sorry, it's still in the cellophane, and
that's all right.
You get like a decent amount of mix now. So like this is a big enough force for playing Alpha Strike. If you were playing Classic and you had this many mix, it would take you a whole weekend probably. Or 2 days. So it's not as nuanced. It's not as detailed when it comes to the individual mechs as Classic, but it serves a purpose. So in my eyes, this is kind of like what Apocalypse functioned in 40k, if you get me. So it's like it's another rule set to play to allow you to larger scale engagements, but it also still integrates. So the interesting thing with Battletech is the rule sets all integrate with each other. So Alpha Strike, you're able to go up or down levels in scope. So you can go down to like Total Warfare is the one that would be like classic Battletech. That'll be the version I like playing, where typically you're playing with 4 mechs. They're very detailed in the damage that they do. So, it's very macro scale, individual detail, but it's, there's an enjoyment in that. But then you can go up a scale into Alpha Strike, and then, your miniatures are becoming just small cards. They're very streamlined. It just becomes a case of like damage output and then damage taken. So it loses a bit of that nuance or a fair chunk of it, but it gains scale. And then there's bigger. There's bigger scales again, so you can go up and you can have there's like, so the Battletech is crazy in that regard. So Battletech is like, there's a core rule set, and then you decide what version you want. So like there's Alpha Strike, and then there's like Total Warfare. Then it has 2 role-playing games that also integrate. So it's got like a Time of War, and it's got Destiny. And then it's got like its large scale rule set as well, so you can actually start doing like whole unit movement. So you'll buy like unit cards. So you know the way like you'd watch like a World War II like historical document, and it'll be all like the units engaging each other like, on the Eastern Front, whatever. So it goes up in scale again. And then there's like the scale can go up again, where it's like it's literally factions fighting factions, and you get like big star maps. And then the whole point is that these all can. So if you want to be like a house lord, and then you're like, okay, we're going to attack this planet. I send me units to various places, and then your mate decides to defend this planet. You can then go down in scale and go, right, we're going to play Alpha Strike battles in and it sort of cross translates so that you can play your Alpha Strike battle, and then it'll be like, this specific bunker or this specific ridge that we want to super focus on, we'll play a classic game where it's going to be like just 4 mechs versus 4 mechs or whatever. So you can zoom down in scale, and it all integrates. And then don't even get me started on like the campaign rules. So there's like like there's loads. So there's so many optional rules, man. It's brilliant, but you're not forced to use them. It's a very different mindset. Like if you come from 40k and you're told like this is how you play, these are the rules, and nobody really veers from that. With BattleTech, it's like here's the core rules, have fun with it. Oh, and by the way, here's a shed load of optional rules you don't need, but you can have fun with that too. Like, it just depends on the level of detail that you want to go into it. Like so. Like there's abstract rules for campaigns which are streamlined, and then there's like super detailed rules for campaigns. It just depends on the level you want. If you want like a quick streamlined thing where the point system's abstracted out and you'll get through it quick enough, or if you want something that's got a lot of homework in it and you want to get into the nuts and bolts and the details of figuring out your techs, how much their wages are going to be, and the salvage that you sold. Like you can go down into the like nickel and diamond if you want that level of detail, but you don't have to. But it's catered for. So there's a lot catered for different people.
And that's the advantage of it being nearly 40 years old, right?
Well, yeah, and the lore, like there's loads of lore. So the rules have been like refined over time. They haven't, like when they've done a reprint of the rule book, it hasn't been like a massive rule change like the sort of baby being thrown out with the bathwater with some other wargaming systems. It's actually refined over time. So erratas and FAQs are folded in. So players who've played in the 90s or the 80s, if they come back to the game now, they'll recognize enough of the game to go, oh, hold on, I remember how that kind of plays. There might be some minutiae that have changed, some situational minutiae that have changed, and some equipment that's slightly changed. But you'll be able to take your miniatures from the early 1980s, bring them onto the tabletop now, and you'll be able to use them.
Well, that's how I got back into it, is that these guys were doing a review and Kaiser had a box of Battletech and they said, oh, we might get round to this. And I finally thought, they still make that. And then, so now I've got 40 or 50 mechs.
Yeah.
The thing you forgot to mention is it's not just about the mechs. You can make the pilots individual as well.
Oh, yes. And the important thing about it is like there's a multiplier. So if you make your pilot like shit hot, there's battle value is the point system. So obviously, like the better the pilot you put into a mech, the more likely you are to hit or more likely to do damage. So therefore, the value of that unit increases the better the pilot you have in it. So it's got a nice balance in that regard. I mean, there's construction rules as well. So they're all built off of a formula, all the mechs. They're all built off of a formula to calculate the value. So if you decide you want to build your own unit, there's a rule book for that. Just sit down and design whatever you want. If you want to have airships or like joint planetary crawlers that sort of like transport dropships.
I do have a small sphere dropship.
You can have dropships, and there's space battles as well. So there's like capital ships jumping into system, fighting each other. Then you can have your dropships coming down onto the planet being supported by your aerospace units, and then those aerospace units come down onto the tabletop, and then you'll have your dropship coming down onto your tabletop as well, and integrating into your Alpha Strike game or whatever. There's loads. There's infantry, there's vehicles, there's aircraft, there's VTOLs, there's like loads in it. It's like I don't actually know how many units there are, because for every unit there's different variants of it. Yeah. Because the timeline as well. So the timeline has been going on. So it's sort of a retro future sci-fi, because it was started in the 80s. And their timeline is still going. So they're still writing the lore for it. And they still have the timeline moving forward. And as the timeline moves forward, certain factions die off. Certain factions gain more power. The map will change. They'll bring out a new map that you'll be able to look at. There's maps where it has every star system named, the distances between the maps that it would take in jump time, so that you can play your campaigns and actually calculate the distance between them. Like lads, it's nuts. When you open up the hood, if you want to go super deep, you can. Or we can bring 4 mechs each, decide on the points value, and just have a game.
and just get on with it.
Knock the stuffing out of each other. You know what I mean? You can go as deep as you want. You know.
So,
I mean,
go on. Sorry, go on, John.
I was just going to say that the soundboard options in that scope of things is like endless, and I need to make a sausage mech with an AC20 and 2 SRM6s underslung. You know.
I mean, there's nobody stopping you, bud.
He knows the lingo. Look, he knows the lingo.
Yeah.
You spoke
And
very
you
spoke very passionately about that, Dwayne, and about the depth of it. Now, I think I may be mistaken here, but a lot of the stuff you just talked about there is not actually currently available commercially.
What, the rule sets?
Yeah, for the like spaceship battles and so forth.
Oh, you know, there's the rules. The books are out, like, so you.
Are they?
Yeah, you have campaign operations. There's tech manual is the construction rules. Total Warfare is the core rule book. MechWarrior Destiny is one of the role-playing games. A Time of War is the other role-playing game. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but
there are websites where you can actually go and get PDFs of the out of print stuff as well.
Yeah, so there's like there's technical readouts, which are pretty much like coffee books, coffee table books. So they're just fluff and lore, but it'll be like you'll pick it up and you'll look at it. It'll be an era, because as I was saying, and then I sort of cut myself off. It's like it's weird in that it's a science fiction game, but it kind of acts like a historical game as well, because the era, different eras will have different availabilities, different technology levels, and different variants. So, if you're looking at your Tiger tank, you'll have your early war Tiger and your late war Tigers and, whatever variants there are in between them. And it'll be the same for Battletech units. There'll be some units that will have like Succession War eras, which will be like sort of early war, and it'll be basic tech. And then you can have that same unit in later eras that's been upgraded by various factions. It's like, okay, well, these guys over here ran out of large lasers that are normally put into it. So that's why there's an auto cannon variant, because that's all they had. So they put that into it. And it might be terrible, but that's how it works. So there's like, not everything's optimized. Some of the units, aren't the most optimized either, but then there tends to be in-law reasons. You know what I mean? It's like, our factory that built that component got nuked from orbit in one of the previous wars. You can't actually build it.
Because the kind of principal setting for Battletech, as I understand it, is it's a fallen empire, isn't it? The Integrate Empire, the Star League, which was super sophisticated. It all went to shit. The kind of loyalist elements at the end of it went beyond the galactic rim to do their own shit.
Most of them,
and they're what's in some future timelines, they come back and they're the clan
invasions. So they bugger off and do and establish their own society, and then have their own sort of like culture develop, and they go off and become like super high tech, and then they, there's a lot in that storyline, but they eventually come back and then interact with
what's happened to all you scumbags.
No, we're here to show you heathens the light. You freebirth scum, because those clanners, they're all grown in like iron wombs or whatever. They're not. They don't do they don't bump uglies to reproduce the way we do. They sort of they're all sort of genetically modified a little bit and engineered. So they're guys who are B elementals or big huge dudes, whereas the guys who are aerospace fighters will be skinny, sort of quick reflexes guys, and then you'll have your mech warriors, and they've like, it's really interesting lore, because they've got like an interesting culture. They have specific ways of doing things, and then they'll have their own ways of talking, their own sort of words. They do speak English, but they have their own sort of like slang kind of that they use. So it's interesting, like, and it's good, like, because you get, there's loads of lore books, loads of novels. They have like compilations that are coming out quarterly called.
And there's a cartoon, right?
There is a cartoon from back in the 90s. There are several video games. The latest of which is MechWarrior 5. There's the online sort of combat game, which is MechWarrior Online, and there's kind of like an XCOM-like game that's just called BattleTech by Harebrained Schemes. So if you wanted to command the Lance, You can find that as well on Steam.
That's the one I've played, where it's a turn-based.
Yeah.
The Paradox published it, I think, and we're going to play some of that. We're going to have a go at that.
You can play multiplayer, Kaiser. You can play multiplayer.
Yeah, exactly. No, I've finished the campaign. I reckon I'm good at it now, so we're gonna do it.
You fancy your chances, really, Grant? It has to happen. Yeah, we have to do it.
I was hoping after the show we could try it, because I've never actually tried to do it, and then tried to stream it and see what happens.
Yeah,
and how that was going to work. I was hoping we could just muck around for 10 minutes after the show, but you're not on your computer at the moment because you're in your new house.
I've moved house, so my computer is partly here and partly somewhere else. I still have things in storage, and you know how it is. Everything gets put into a box and then needs to be reorganized. So,
and you forget which box it's in.
Exactly. If you don't label things or use clear boxes, it becomes very difficult to keep track of stuff. And then the horror of how much hobby stuff you've collected over a long period of time dawns on you as you're like, how much of this stuff did I buy? Why do I have 11 orc trucks? It's just like the madness.
Because when you went into a hobby...
In the room Kaiser's in now, trying to find which is the box that's got the trees in it, which is the box that's got the
I'm moving to clear boxes for the scenery though, so you can look and putting different bits and different things. So we've half an hour and we've not gone back to the chat at all, so I better do that. Tony Holton, probably tempted by the nice new sculpts. I mean, I think like Dwayne referenced, for a long time it was that Ralpatha stuff that I had when I was like 14.
Yeah.
And what Catalyst has brought to this is they're new, they're clean, they're in scale with one another, which is great.
Yeah. This is important.
Yeah. And they're pretty cheap, right? By the standards of modern miniatures. They're not cheap insofar as they're not £1 each. But so you buy them. There's basically two ways you get mechs, as I understand it, is you can buy a lance box or you can buy a blind box. Is that right, Dwayne?
Yeah, it's like either you're buying your core box set, so like a beginner box set, the Game of Armor Combat, the Alpha Strike, or you're going to be buying them in your lance or your star or your level 2, depending, and then your savage box. That's how you're going to buy them.
Yeah.
So either core boxes or force packs, as would be the catch-all term for everything else. And you know what you're getting in a force pack because it's got the clear window on it. If I had one within arm's reach, I realistically should be able to pick one up, but it's an absolute mess here.
Right. When you say force pack, is that the pack of 4 mechs?
So a force pack would be the term you'd use for the mech packs, and then those specific mech packs are different depending on where in the game they're from. So like the different organizations organize their factions differently, their forces differently. So the guys from the Inner Sphere, the Grey Houses, they organize their units. Usually they organize their units in lances, and lances are 4 to a unit. The clanners usually organize their units in stars, and there's 5 mechs in a star. And then there's the Comstar dudes, which are kind of like Mechanicus, kind of, tech hoardy, clandestine dudes, and they organize their forces in level 2s, is what they call them, and they are 6 in a unit. So you can get box sets with 4 mechs, 5 mechs, or 6. And then there's going to be other ones coming out a bit later, like the Proliferation Cycle, which I think has about 6 or 7 mechs in it.
Right, right. So if I'm unlucky, I bring my 4 Urbies, my 4 20-ton urban mechs, and you bring a Star League 5 guys, clanners, and I get crushed. How does that work, Dwayne? That doesn't seem fair.
So if you brought like 4 urban mechs and I brought 5 clan mechs, like you'd have the most shit-hot urban mechs in existence. Your skill level would have to be multiplied so significantly to even come close to the value of the clan mechs, and then the clan mechs would have to reduce their skill level so much to reduce their point value to meet you that I'd barely hit anything, and you'd hit something the other side of the planet without looking like. So the pilots would adjust. Now, obviously, that only works to a certain degree, but like you can use that to your advantage if you play it right.
Right. Yeah. because actually there is a point system backing all of this
battle
up.
value.
And the pilot is a multiplicative element, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So it's not one of these like +2 to hit doesn't matter very much on this urban mech with a flamethrower, whereas it matters a lot on this, Star League clan mech.
So it depends. It depends on the weapons, but basically how you're trying to hit something is your base skill is your starting number. Then you're gonna add or subtract modifiers to what you're trying to hit, and then you're trying to score that number or greater on 2d6. So the lower the starting number, the better the skill of the pilot. So if you have a 0 pilot in gunnery, the base starting number you're going with is 0, and if your opponent's only got like +2 modifier and you're adding 2 for being in medium range, you're looking to score a 4 on 2d6 to hit. Whereas if your base skill you're starting off it is an average pilot, where it's a bit, a gunnery skill of usually 4, and then you'd be adding the same modifier of like the range. If it's +2, you'd be looking for 6s. So it's all about that sort of the bell curve of 2d6. What you're likely to hit and not likely to hit. So the lower the value of the pilot skill starting off, the better they are.
Right, which is a bit counterintuitive.
Well, yeah.
Now, so here's something I was thinking while you were talking about it as well. There is another game out there which has got loads of lore and loads of rule books and loads of granularity, and it's called Advanced Squad Leader, and it's fucking awful to win. But that's got millions of optional rules.
So I've never played Advanced Squad Leader, but the last
for it in the soul.
Apparently, but the last college convention that we did in March, I taught an American lady how to play Battletech. She'd never played it before, and she said that elements of Battletech kind of reminded her of Advanced Squad Leader, but this game was way better, and that Advanced Squad Leader was terrible. Now, I've never played Advanced Squad Leader, but apparently Battletech's better. So if that's your bar, it's it's a bit above it.
Yeah. But it does have that. I mean, it's one of the reasons I've not been playing it. Is it is the sort of game that it's going to take you hours to play. You're not one and done in an hour. Just pick up 4 bits of paper at the bottom of a box, shove them on the table, and let's go.
I mean, you can do if that's what you want to do. Like, it just depends on the game format. If we just want to do like a one-on-one duel, that would probably be over in an hour or less. Using classic BattleTech. But if you're looking for bigger games, then probably Alpha Strike would be the way to kind of go. But then again, that's not played with a grid, so it depends what type of game you're looking for. Like I personally like the grid hex movement because
the hexes.
Because it's tight. There's no wiggle room in it. It's very strategic.
But wiggling is exactly the problem with hexes. Is I can go that way in a straight line, but if I go that way, I have to do this.
Yeah, but then there's jump jets. Like, you'd be grand. Because your opponent has the same problem.
Hey, if I get to design my own mech, the first thing I do is strip the jump jets off. There's a lot of wasted tonnage there.
Doing that. That's like the best part of a Wolverine mech. I'm going to teach you this lesson the hard way, Kaiser.
All right, okay.
We're going to have to meet up and get a game soon. I'll show you the glory of Death from Above and you won't know yourself.
14 years old, get Battletech home, see the section, Death from Above. I'm going to do that, jump onto another mech, land straight on top of him, break both of my legs, and think, oh dear. My mech is destroyed. Through my own agency, I have destroyed my mech.
Ah, yeah, it happens, but it's glorious. Like, like the very first game of BattleTech I ever played, I literally got 2 turns onto the board, I think, or 3 turns onto the board, and then someone hit the ammo on the mech and it blew up, and I was like, "This is great!" And I got another mech because we just play like free for all battles where you'll pull a mech, and it could be an assault mech, so it could be like an 85-ton mech, armed to the teeth with guns, and then the other mate could pull a random mech, and it's like a light mech that has 2 guns but runs really fast, and you just have a bit of crack with it. We run them at events just for the lols, and we'll give out a little prize. It's like whoever got the most kills, or if somebody's winning, we might put a bounty on their head, and whoever knocks him out gets a little prize or something. You just have a bit of a laugh with it.
That's awesome.
Okay, so Mark Hall in here, he's saying that the Alpha Strike. Can we talk a bit about Alpha Strike while we've still got time? You went. Oh,
I suppose.
he went and then he came back.
Oh no!
Yeah, can we talk a little bit about Alpha Strike? Because we talked mainly about Classic there. That is the Battletech that people remember from years ago. You've got the hex movement. You've got the sheets with circles on where you cross the damage off. And so forth, hit locations, all of that granularity for those that like it. But Alpha Strike is a much rendered down version of the game, which you play on a wargaming table or whatever, right? You measure in inches, you turn, it works quite differently. Presumably, angle of shot still matters, but do you determine that? Are they on hexagonal bases or something?
Yeah, they have their hexagonal bases, so you can sort of just still figure out their front facing and where their rear facing is, and it's just it's a lot more simplified in that regard as well. It's not too difficult. There'll be 3 range brackets. There'll be like it's not going to look.
So they can see how
not
different
going to look great here, but there's like short, medium, and long range, and it's just hold on.
All the modifiers, -0, -2, -4, whatever.
Yeah, so there'll be a number for each range, and quite literally, it's just that's how much damage you do out to that range. Then they'll have an armor value, which is down here in the white dots. So you take the armor off first, and then the red dots are the structure. So if somebody hit this little guy with like 4 damage, it would just kill him outright. You know what I mean? Right. So it's a lot quicker in that regard. With bigger mechs, they'll have more armor and more structure. But like I said, it's a lot more straightforward. It's like, what's the range? I'm in medium range. I do this much damage on medium range. There's the modifiers. I roll the hit. Do I hit you? Yes. You take that much damage. Are you still alive? No. Well, then you're dead. Like that's Alpha Strike. Like, there's other little bits and pieces for like special rules and stuff like indirect fire and such like that. But it's all abbreviated and summarized down. It's all compacted down.
Even something like an Atlas, like a massive 100-ton mech or whatever it is, still just shoots once. It's got 1 weapon profile.
Yeah, you'll just roll. Yeah, because it's all put into the damage for the range bracket. So you're just attacking. So that's part of what speeds it up. Then is you're not firing like 4 guns individually. Now I quick roll my dice for Classic. Because I roll different sets of pairs, so it'll be like I'm firing 4 weapons at once. It's this, and this. That's what they are. But I won't use the same color dice. I'll use like 2 yellow, 2 blue, 2 whatever. But yeah,
so you see the sets,
different sets to speed the game up. Otherwise, it could take forever. But Alpha Strike, it's like you're rolling. Do you hit? Then you do all your damage. If you don't, then you don't do any damage.
But it sounds like you could reasonably play with 10 or 15 mechs in an hour and a half in a way that's just not possible with.
I mean, yeah, about an hour and a half. Like the average game of like Alpha Strike or Battletech, I'd expect it to take about hour and a half, 2 hours. Like you're playing Battletech in the time it's taking the guys to play like Star Wars Legion on the other table, or the other lads are playing Bolt Action or whatever, or the other lads are playing 40k. Like, you know what I mean? You're getting your game done in and around the same time. Now, obviously, different things are going to affect that. Like if you played 40k on an 8x6 board, that's going to affect how long it takes to play. So if you play games on bigger maps for Battletech, it's going to take longer to close the distance. It's going to take longer to then engage and actually get the game done. But that's the same for any game. Like, so it's the same parameters. Like,
yeah.
I want it.
I do like the idea of that. The mercenary company campaign thing. I like that.
It is.
That's what all the video games are, right? It's like I am this mercenary company. We're out doing this. They have different mechanics for it, the different games, but that's the same story. I'm working for some. Well, this latest one we talked about is some disinherited princess, isn't it? So I'm going to get my throne back, but that's always the story.
Yeah.
My wicked uncle done me wrong. It's like I've said this story before,
but it's
not just in Battletech.
To this day, like
Yeah. It's Richard III. It's the Lion King. It's that story. That story. I like it. So the Alpha Strike box set, you showed that up. How many mechs come in that?
It should be 2 lances and a star. So what's that? That's 14 mechs. So it'll be like 5 on one side and 8 on the other.
Sweet.
Right. So your inner sphere guys get 2 lances to fight 1.
The star of clan mechs, because the clan mechs are like technologically better.
Yeah.
Their pilots are typically better skilled as well.
That's the engineer Mega Man.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's because of the way that their society works. Is like they have to earn the right to be in a mech. So there's like there's a whole thing that they do, like trial of position and stuff. And then there's like cardboard terrain as well, because this uses like 3D terrain and not just text stuff. So there's like cardboard terrain and stuff. So it's pretty good actually. It's a pretty good value.
And is that the full rule set? It's not just like an introductory rule set.
So there's a quick start rules for that comes in the box set is what comes in here. But it covers most of the basics of the game. The full rule set is the Alpha Strike Commander's Edition. But most of the rules you're going to need for playing Alpha Strike are in the quick start rules. It covers most of it.
Right. Okay.
So,
and how much is that box set? Do you happen to know its price? Well, you know it's Euros price, and we can infer from the rest.
Oh yeah, so like the Euro price, I think I sell them for like €85. That's what it. Yeah,
right.
About that.
So that's probably US price, $80, something
$80,
like that.
Yeah, I think that's even like like US price is like $80. Sorry. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I apologize for the terrible lighting. I shall improve it in the future, gents.
Is this the first time you've streamed from your new house?
Yeah, so the hobby desk is a bit all over the place.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Let's give over quickly going back into that. Sub says all my clan mechs are painted up as fire mandrills.
Oh, nice.
Is that one of the clans?
Yeah, one of the clans. There's a few different clans, and they typically have different color schemes, and then different forces within the clans will have different color schemes themselves. So it can be get some interesting looking clan color schemes.
Howard said if you played it last 25 years ago, what's the best starter? I assume that is that Game of Armored Combat box that's been out for a year or two now.
Yeah, the Game of Armored Combat box is a good solid box if you want to go into Total Warfare. I mean, you could buy the Alpha Strike box and just buy the Total Warfare rule book. There's nothing stopping you doing that either. And then that gives you Alpha Strike rules, and then you'd have Total Warfare. Because the miniatures aren't for one or the other. You use them for both systems. And when you buy the miniatures, you're given the Alpha Strike card. So if you're playing Total Warfare, you're still getting the rules to use that mech for Alpha Strike. You get me? It's not either or. It really is.
The models come with the unit cards.
Yeah.
Unlike other companies that insist you buy rule books to get unit cards.
Yes, so no, the unit cards come with the mechs that you purchase, and even the blind boxes. When you buy a blind box, the card for that unit comes with it, and a pilot card as well. So that, like, there's a pilot card, so there'll be like a famous pilot's double-sided from lore. You know, maybe there'll be a story that you've read that this pilot that you like had this mech. So you'll have pilots with their own skills and pilot special rules, which they're an optional. Like I said, when it comes to Battletech, a lot of stuff is optional. So if you and your mate want to have a bit of extra fluff and some abilities, that you can use, you can agree to use pilot cards as well if you want. If you want that specific character that you really like, if you want Grayson Carlisle in his Marauder, there is a card for him and his special abilities. But you agree beforehand, hey, we're going to use pilot cards. Yeah, it sounds like a great idea. Let's do it,
Oh, right. In the kind of classic format, pilot cards are not used because they really bend the mechanics.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, if you were just playing BV, it's like, yeah, like their abilities, like pilot cards will have cost to their pilot abilities, but it's a bolt on to the game. But like quite a lot of it's a bolt on to the game. So it's whatever you want to decide. Like there's extra rules for like mech quirks. So some mechs have various quirks to them that if you were just playing the bog standard game, they wouldn't. But if you wanted an extra layer on top, it's like, oh, well, this mech is easier to repair. It's ubiquitous. It's easier to get parts for. So if you're playing a campaign, it's cheaper to get parts for this dude. Whereas if this other mech is like super rare and an experimental, and it's like, well, if anything breaks, good luck to replacing it, mate. You know what I mean? So, it adds flavor if you want
Which
that.
is why we need urban mechs, right?
Exactly.
Yep. All the
Not
way.
You
they make
need a full
absolutely no sense, but they're brilliant. Sure, why not?
right. Okay. Sounds. And if people just want to have a look at it, do they still sell that super rookie set? I forget what it's called. Was it beginner edition?
Beginner box set. It sells for about 25 quid. It comes with 2 mechs, maps to play on, and this is the beauty with all the box sets is like you don't need to build miniatures; they're pre-assembled for you, but you can repose them, cut them if you want. But it'll have everything in it. It's a bit more streamlined. The beginner box set is a bit more streamlined because it's sort of designed to take into account people who probably have never wargamed before. And that's really what Battletech is starting to do now, especially in the States. They're doing box sets that are going into their big retail chains, the likes of Target, because, those big retail chains want exclusive deals with them to get these box sets out. So, I think the era of just thinking, people are just jumping over from 40K. I think that, while that's been a resurgence and it's happened, I think Battletech has the potential to really explode because they're looking for, new territory, virgin soil, you know what I mean? They're really sort of putting themselves out there, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next couple of years. I think it's going to grow quite a lot. It's going to grow wargaming. It's not just going to grow Battletech. It's going to grow wargaming quite a bit.
All right. Last few minutes of the show, I think I was partly joking. Look, the Warhammer 10th edition, it's happening, Dwayne. It's happening very soon, within a matter of days, I think. It's on my mind. I think it might be pre-order this weekend or next weekend. It's very soon, very, very soon.
What did you say?
What the free PDF of the rules
already?
Yeah.
But the difference, one of the classic examples with that though is like Dwayne said that when you buy a mech, the card comes in the box. The rules might be there, but can you build an army with those rules? They're not rules in the way that other people would understand rules. It's like this rule set is useless without unit stats.
Yeah, so what are they doing? Are they doing kind of like an index thing again? I haven't been.
Well, they reckon they're going to put some kind of index as PDFs or available online somehow.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that it'll get updated. It doesn't mean it'll still be available in 3 weeks.
No, it's just you can play off the bat.
Yeah. So I don't. Yeah. I'm not excited about 10th edition because I haven't seen anything in 10th edition that tells me that they've really addressed the problems with 9th edition. They changed the numbers a lot, but my problems with 9th edition were never that I felt Imperial vehicles were trash. I mean, they were, but that wasn't why I didn't want to play it. The reason I didn't want to play it was because it had a horrible mission format, because there was a new rule book every 3 months, and I just wasn't interested in that bloated load of game. That I just had to constantly be reading their bloody forums to know what I needed to buy next.
No, you're all right.
And 10th doesn't seem to have addressed that one bit for me. And the new models, Tyranids. If I was interested in Warhammer anymore, I might be interested in a Tyranid army. The range probably could have done with a bit of an update, but for me, not excited. Dwayne?
I'm not that pushed. I'm probably in the same boat as you. I'm not that excited. I still have all my 40k orcs, and I won't sell them. Even if I totally stop playing 40k, every now and then I'll feel the urge to buy some plastic card, rod and sheeting, and just convert a battle wagon or that sort of aspect of the hobby. And I'll always play games at 40k with me 40k orc mates. With
Steve-O and the crew.
Yeah, exactly. That'll never stop because we have too much crack. You just sort of make the game your own. So regardless of what edition or what new codex comes out, I'll always have the banter with the lads. But so I've been playing Games Workshop games since I was 9. So it's Jesus, what's that? Since 97, I think. So I've been at it for 25 years, and this is the first time an edition of Warhammer 40k has come out where I just have not cared. That like it's the very first.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You
And
didn't
now,
even know it was coming out this weekend. Yeah.
if that doesn't speak volumes, I don't know what does. You know what I mean? It's like I'm indifferent. I'm not excited or disappointed. I'm just like, oh, well, okay. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Well, I built a Dark Angels army and I played one game of 9th edition. I think that was before Christmas. And they're just sat there. I've read through the rules, but it doesn't make any sense to me from what I remember from first edition. So
yeah,
it's certainly a different beast now. I mean, it was there when we was at the Games Expo. They seem to have a presence there playing 10th edition.
Yeah, and I wasn't interested in making time to try and go and see it.
Me neither. I walked past, I looked at the models, and I thought, oh, that's lovely.
That nice fiberglass Space Marine at the front entrance.
Yeah, that was cool. Big
Took a picture of that.
Yeah, lovely, but no interest whatsoever.
No,
the game.
I mean, we almost certainly will buy the introductory sets when they come out. Paint a dozen models.
Yeah,
play through the basics of it. I mean, why I can't completely give up on Warhammer is in the games club that I run at school. It's 70% Warhammer, and I think it would be cruel of me to take it away from those boys.
We don't have to.
The message I got today is that the Leviathan starter box is 150.
Yeah, that's that information's been out for a while. And the crazy thing is, by Games Workshop standards, that's good value.
Yeah, true.
Whereas a Lance of 4MX in one of those packs is what, 20 quid, 25 quid?
25, 30 quid in and around that. Like, yeah, about that. Yeah. And that's it. Like, that's. I think that's part of the thing as well.
And that's the game that lasts you 3 hours with those 4MX.
But it's a different culture as well. So proxying your miniatures is not verboten. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be WYSIWYG, lads. Because the important thing when it comes to playing the game is the cards. As long as you tell me what this unit is being represented on the battlefield and you have the right card to play that miniature, that's it. And I find that so amusing, people coming from other gaming systems, and that doesn't compute. What do you mean it doesn't have to be WYSIWYG? I'm like, mate, it's a gaming company that gives you cardboard cutout mechs as extras so you can play extra miniatures. Like, WYSIWYG isn't like, don't worry about it. Just enjoy yourself. Go have fun.
For some people, custom building them has always been a key attraction of the game as well, hasn't it? That's been in there since the beginning.
Yeah, you can tell.
Even if you buy a proprietary mech, when you look at the list, there's version 22 of them. You know, this is a model 25 or a model 57. You know,
but surely you can't just rock up with a flea and say, "This is my Atlas today."
I mean,
I've got the card.
If that's all you have, mate, and you're getting into the hobby, I see absolutely no problem with it. Or, you know, maybe if you had an assault mech, a different assault mech, just so, you know, visually people would have it. But hey, if you didn't have an assault mech, I'll give you a lend of one. I'll give you a lend of an Atlas if you want. Or you just use your Locust. As long as you're telling me what it is and you're marking your sheet down appropriately as we're playing the game, I wouldn't have a problem with it at all.
And there's
in most cases, you've got 6 or less models. It is easy to track them, even when they're not WYSIWYG, to know which they are.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's played on not many people play with scenery on those hex boards. I know it exists, but a lot of people just play on the tiles, don't they?
Yeah, they play on the tiles. So it's a 2D representation, but ideally, you'd really want it for new people, especially. You want to try and get yourself some 3D terrain, just so that visual interpretation is easier to come across to people.
For line of sight stuff.
Yeah, exactly. For line of sight, and then to understand what, you know, looking at a hill and a 2D map and then reading the levels on it can be hard for people, can be jarring, which is understandable. So ideally, you know, putting woods down where there's woods and then putting hills at the correct levels and little buildings. I started to dabble with that sort of thing initially, but I've, you know, life's gotten in the way and, you know, I've been distracted by other projects. But ideally, I'd like that. I'd like to have terrain for each of the maps so that if somebody comes up, they understand what's going on. And eye candy, you know what I mean? If you're running an introductory game, looking at a flat map people will be like, oh, it looks a bit boring. Whereas if you've got hills and woods and buildings and bridges and painted mechs, you know what I mean? It looks nice. It draws people over. You know,
Absolutely.
What's this game about? This looks cool. You know,
Yeah,
that's what you're aiming for.
Just wanted to show you something.
I was about to say, isn't Gale Force 9 doing a terrain?
I was just going to bring that up.
A lot of buildings in Strike, yeah.
So you know, we obviously we work with let me find the screen share. Battlefront, yeah, but they've done this. Where's it gone? Hex tech stuff. And even the font is in Battletech.
Oh, beautiful!
Have you seen this stuff, Glenn?
Yeah, it's fully painted as well. So it's like they're
Battlefield in a box.
Yeah, they're Battlefield. I bought a load of that back in the early 2000s when it first came out. Thought it was great stuff, and the weight of it as well. You know what I mean? Fair old heft. So if someone annoyed you threw it
around on the table.
Yeah, there was no moving. Yeah.
I've got
stuff as well.
Online you can find 3D print companies, and I've got buildings and that are 3D printed. So when they're on the battle map, you've got those.
That's how these boys started off, I think, is they were doing 3D printed terrain. Then they got together with Gale Force 9 and they decided, right, we're going to do a product run. Because not everyone is like has got a 3D printer or knows someone who has a 3D printer, or you know, it's not for everyone. I understand that, you know.
Well, the other thing about this is the reason this I got emailed about this yesterday from Battlefront Gale Force 9. They've already sold out of it. They've reproduced it. It's already sold out. They're going to do another manufacturing run of it. So that doesn't mean distributors don't have it. That doesn't mean, you know, but what is currently in circulation is all there's going to be for a while. And then there's going to be another wave. So if anyone wants to get some of this stuff, I would get on it, I suppose is thing I would say. But I was looking at anyway, Dwayne, it was great. Hobby-wise, where did we get to? I got some Middlestone on this, as I planned to, and I got some brown on the treads of the stew.
Boo to the stew.
Dwayne?
I got some metal on the lighting's terrible, but yeah, I got some metal on the barrel ends of the Orbimex and in between their, you know, knee joints and their actuators and the gun. So I got a little bit of metal in where I needed metal in before I do it.
The guns on them bad boys.
Ah, yeah, you know.
They're not AC-20s or something. What are they?
Orbimex for the win.
I can't believe you can fit an AC-20 on an urban mech.
I mean, it's only got 5 shots, but boy Jesus, if it hits, you'll know about it.
Can it get one on?
Yeah, there's an Orbimex with an AC-20, and it has 5 rounds. And it's like...
It instantly melts when you fire it, but...
it's just waiting. It's like a mugger in an alley, just biding its time, waiting for someone to go bang.
Wooly, did you get your thing done, whatever it was? I can't remember.
Yeah, I've got 27 base coated DACs now.
Oh yeah, they've got
great progress.
It's a green yellow. It's the early tropical. So
you're a machine. That's really good. Johnny B, are we getting a hot chocolate? Yes, please. I've got all of the colours on this Bren section for the 8-man Canad. So happy days.
Nice.
Yeah.
Rodento says, how often do you stream? We stream fortnightly, usually, although actually a fortnight from now, I have to go to a governor's meeting at school, the school where I work. So it's going to be the 27th of June before we're back. And when we're back...
Was Rodento asking us, or was he asking Scania?
Ah, that's also true.
I'm the same. It's every fortnight on a Sunday.
Yeah. Because I think we did mention when Scania streams. But maybe
just check out the channel, guys. I'm sure he'll let you know.
And that will be with Duncan's Band of Brothers, the guy who's got that Carantan board built by Geek Gaming Scenics. We are trying to organize a meetup. And for those of you that are on the Facebook page, Modeling for Advantage Facebook page, or the Friends and Fans Facebook group for Modeling for Advantage, we've been trying to organize a gamers play date for a while, looking at it. I think what we're going to do in the first instance is we're going to get Duncan down with his boards so you can come and play on them, and the basically any money left over from the hiring the hall, but the ticket price, etc., is going to go to his charity because he's raising money for the Kidney Foundation. And you know, as a part of some of the stuff that he's doing, because we got to spend some time with him at UKGE. You know, there's a lot of compelling stories there. He's been doing stuff with another guy and a group of them now who are taking model kits into kidney wards for kids, giving them figures to paint because they're kind of there all day with very little to do.
Yeah.
And then often it's really good for the families who are visiting because they don't have much to do either. And you need a bit of help from your dad with this difficult bit of modeling, or, you know, mom can help you with the painting. There's some really good, kind of touching stories about kids who are really bad way, you know. So that was good. So we're going to get Duncan on, talk about his board, and hopefully by then we'll be able to put out some dates for when you can, if you're in the UK or if you're mad and want to fly here to play on a board. And it'll almost certainly be here in Luton. Not quite nailed that down yet. And to raise a little bit of money for the Kidney Foundation. So, Dwayne, do you want to remind the beautiful people at home who you are, where they can find you, that kind of thing?
So I'm Dwayne, or Scarnier, if you know me from 40K. You can find me on the Plastic Craic Gaming YouTube channel. You can also find me on the Plastic Craic Gaming Facebook page. I've also helped run the Battletech Ireland Facebook page, and we have a Battletech Ireland Discord, so you can catch us there. Usually we do a gaming night either every other week in Dublin in the Clonsilla Inn. So if you're about, check out the Discord, check out the Facebook page. We've even had folks who've been like on holidays coming in, and we've got all the forces. We've got several forces spare for people to join in. So we've had tourists come and play with us, get games in. So if you're in Dublin anytime and there's a gaming night on, come along. And we have the Plastic Craic Gaming store. There's links there as well on the YouTube channel if you want to support the channel and get some mix in the process. There you go.
Epic.
There you go. All right, that's it from us. I hope it was useful. We were at the UK Games Expo at the weekend. We took a little bit of footage and we interviewed a guy from a bolt action tournament. I've not edited it yet, and I haven't even checked if the footage is okay because of all the background noise. I probably should have done that. But we've got quite a bit of bolt action stuff recorded, which will be coming out over the next few weeks with Mike. It's not the campaign with John hasn't stopped, but we realize we've been doing kind of the same thing. We, you know, month after month. So played a few games with Mike over the past few weeks. We recorded a tanks game for those people that are always like, you know, oh, you're gonna do some more World of Tanks. We get more requests for that than anything else. World of Tanks, the miniatures game. You know, it's like direct comments. When will you do more of this? Which is weird, but I think nobody else really covers it. You know, I don't think it's like loads of people watch it, but I think most of the people in the world who do want to play it, we're just about the only channel that gives it much coverage. So that's what you've got in the pipeline, and we are lined up to do some SPQR sometime before the end of the world. We're ready for it. All right. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Take it easy.